Nothing but poetry. What is up, Robot Wars fans? Hardcore Kid here with what could possibly be the last episode of the Hardcore Podcast.
For now, anyway.
Yes. Because today we're going to be looking at, so far, the last episode of Robot Wars World Series Episode 2. And joining me, as always, I have with me to my left, Otaku Nate.
Do we have to do this episode?
Yes, we must.
Can we just skip this episode and just talk about something different? Because, oh my god, this episode.
What do you want to talk about, Devilman Crybaby?
I've only seen one episode of that, and it's pretty good so far.
Yeah, if you ignore the absolute clusterfuck at the end, where one woman turns into this monster.
Come on, this is a family show. Let's not talk about that here.
Is it? Is it really? So joining us today, we have a guy who actually competed in last night's episode. In fact, he was the captain of Team Row, the rest of the world. He has competed in BattleBots a few times, and also in the RoboGames events as well. And last night's episode was his big Robot Wars debut. He competed with Cathod? What was the name of it?
Cathod.
Yeah,
it's Scottish for Blizzard.
It depends, okay? According to Dara, it's pronounced Cathod.
Well, Dara can't pronounce anything right.
He can't even say behemoth correctly.
Or Geothor, and he's Irish. But yeah,
it's actually a Scots Gaelic word. It means blizzard. But yeah,
I did know.
Until you told me that. So then I've been trying to figure out how to say the other one, and I'm bad at it.
It is, of course, the Silicon Valley millionaire from Texas, Michael, a.k.a. Fuzzy.
That's me. I'm actually a Pittsburgh millionaire, but that doesn't sell soap, so they moved me for the purpose of the show.
Basically, it's a gimmick.
Hey, just be glad you're not a yinzer.
I have no idea what that word means.
It's the most rabid of Pittsburgh fans for, like, the Pirates and the Penguins and the Steelers.
Yeah. How do you think the Steelers are going to do this year?
They're probably going to get eliminated by those fracking Patriots.
Yeah, complete derp, just like that referee derped at their last game against the Patriots.
But let's get on topic.
Yeah, this was the second of the World Series specials that the BBC decided to air. Last one was on New Year's Eve, and I thoroughly enjoyed that one.
It was a good episode.
Yeah, lots of competitive bots, some good matches, the return of the battle music.
And, of course, Dietor.
Ah, yes. This episode, let's be honest here, it was a squash. Just a complete UK
The way I describe
domination.
it, and again, I'm going to use a wrestling term, Team UK was Bruiser Brody, Team Rest of the World was Barry Horowitz.
Yeah. Are you a wrestling fan, Fuzzy?
No.
Yeah. So you
That's
wouldn't
why
get any references.
You kids these days.
Yeah, you and your fake fighting.
Thanks, Russo.
Yeah, but speaking of, so basically, Fuzzy, we go through each of the robots, and then we talk about their performances and their designs and whatnot, and then we go right to the matches, talk about how the matches go, and yada yada yada, and you can give your info on your experience competing on Robot Wars, which, it has always been a lifelong dream for me. Just coming out there with this big 220-pound beast and just going around, taking on everybody, taking on house robots, and not driving into the pit.
Hey, it's thanks to Robot Wars that I'm actually planning on taking a class in electronics engineering.
Yeah, it's all good.
And
I must point out, I did not drive into the pits.
I know, but there are a few people who have.
Mm-hmm.
And either due to alcohol or just complete out of controlness.
Or just not seeing it or claiming to have not seen it. John Reed.
I think that pretty much covers the intro and whatnot. But how was it fighting on Robot Wars? Just meeting all these UK teams and getting to know everybody.
Well, I had a great time, and
Okay.
I will admit that the rest of the world team was at a mechanical disadvantage with the equipment we had at hand. But I will also say I was very not surprised, but impressed at the quality of the British robots. They've always had some of the best flippers around, but they've only had a couple of years to get up to speed on spinners, but they're very good.
There's definitely a good selection of spinners they have now, like Carbide and Aftershock and whatnot. Because I know it took about, I think the last time they had heavyweight spinners was at a live event in 2006 or 7 or so, and obviously that they decided the arenas weren't safe enough, so there weren't really any spinners anymore. But now that they've come back, the Robot Wars arena is a lot more sturdy. The Extreme Robots events. I don't know if you've heard of them or not.
Yeah, but I haven't been to one.
No, but yeah, they're running spinners now too. So that they are starting to build up a little bit more, and I'm kind of happy.
They're very they I've never talked trash about the Robot Wars robots because I hadn't ever seen them in person. But anyone who talks trash about what they build over there doesn't know what they're talking about.
No, there's a lot of well engineered machines, and there were some. I consider this episode had a good variety of UK bots. You had Eruption, which just came off a big winning the UK championship. You have Big Nipper, who we consider the best engineered robot of Series 10 because it just looks so gorgeous. It's got the interchangeable weapons like the disc and the claws and the lifter, and yet you have Thor and Jason. He's a really great driver and a really powerful axe weapon, and Concussion, who've only been around a year, but you can tell that they've definitely improved and gotten better. So, yeah, definitely a good variety and some good, really tough UK machines as well.
So let's run down the rest of the world team, and we're gonna start off with Cathod.
Cathod.
Cathod or
Now
Cathod?
I'm the one who can't say it.
I'm gonna say Cathod.
I'll say Cathod too.
Cathod will work. I called it that for the whole build process.
Yes. So basically, this was Arena Cleaner from Series 9.
Correct.
Now, I believe you added a lot of your own tech and whatnot into it.
Well, what I did, I had about 2 weeks to prepare, and they said, okay, you're going to be, were you going to drive the spinner or the flipper? I said, I'll drive the spinner, and they sent me a few pictures, and I knew what the drive motors were, so I decided, that the only thing I could bring, I mean, the main limitation was weight. Because of budgetary constraints, I didn't take my own robot because they couldn't afford to ship it.
Mm.
And so all I could do was put a bunch of parts in my suitcases. So I brought 111 pounds of robot parts.
Wow.
So that included Victor BBs for speed control and weapon control, radio, transmitter, the Robot Logic mixer, which I dearly love, some mounting stuff, the transmitter, and a bunch of tools. And so when I got there, my job was to take a shell and and I also brought 5 10-inch NPC solid tires because I don't really care for the Carefree tires. I mean, I saw more than one time that a Carefree tire took one hit and flew off its rim, and so your robot was immobilized. So I wanted to bring tires. So that took up all my weight allowance, and it meant that I had to take 5 pounds off of the frame, which I did by cutting large holes in the top and bottom that are mostly decorative. They serve to stop overhead spike weapons, but there isn't much to hit inside there except air. So that's where I got the weight.
And in the end, you basically ended up with a mini Last Rites. I'm sure Ray Billings was happy to see that.
Actually, it's pretty much the same size as Last Rites.
Wow,
Wow,
it
really?
looks a lot smaller than it. He looks a lot smaller on camera.
It's not. I know Last Rites as well as anyone other than Ray Billings because he's hit me more than anybody else.
You want more?
Yeah,
I do.
got
I'm
plenty.
stupid, but yeah. But no, it's actually slightly larger than Last Rites.
Wow.
But it doesn't have quite as much weight in the weapon as Ray manages to put in.
Yeah, but it's just a shame that we really didn't see it at the full capacity like it had last year, and obviously there were some issues with it.
Well, actually, there's two things. I mean, you saw it work just fine for 3 seconds. It put a really nasty hit on Thor, and if they hadn't added the new entanglement rules for this series, it would have gotten more than one hit.
So for once we actually saw an entanglement device work.
Yeah.
Yes, totally. That the shackle on the right side of Thor got caught on the blade, went all the way through the cavity of Cathod, took out both V-belts, and the weapon was left with no power.
Yeah.
Now, even then, Cathod pushes better than Thor because I brought NPC tires.
Wow.
So all I had to do was get the pit open and push him in. It's not like Cathod was really a bad robot. I had every hope that that's what I was going to be able to do.
Yeah.
And Concussion decided that I might.
No, we'll get to that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is, I mean, I don't think you saw Cathod at its best for more than that first hit. But it's you can ask Jason sometime how much damage I did to Thor.
Well, hey, hopefully we'll get Jason on the podcast. Yeah,
We can hope.
we can hope.
But yeah, he gave me the shackle and signed it. It's actually about 3 inches long, and they had heavy steel cable attached to it. But the only purpose of the cable was to get caught on the weapon and drag the shackle through.
Yeah.
So I mean, anyway, so yeah, I mean, that was why I was very upset in the second fight because I didn't really feel like I gave Michael a very good fight without a weapon. But we can
Yeah.
talk about that.
It was definitely frustrating to watch, but you know what? You got to compete on Robot Wars, and you know what? It looks like you were having fun. You know, this episode wasn't really all that good, but you were definitely the most entertaining thing about it. I
Yeah.
think.
As Kim Davis said in Extreme 1, we're here to entertain, and that's what we're hoping to do, and you definitely entertained us, Fuzzy.
I tried, but I had a good time. I mean, it was a very draining experience. I spent 3.5 days. Well, I'll say modifying. I was hoping to upgrade Arena Cleaner, but I didn't. I don't think I got to prove that I did that. But I spent 3 days modifying it, and it was a very long process to get it to look like a Team Toad robot.
Good shade of orange, Team Toad sticker. That's all you really need to do.
Oh, and you got to have the NPC rubber tires.
Yeah.
Carefree's just would not do it because in the end you want the ability to push, and that's actually more important in the Robot Wars arena than anywhere else. There's if you can push your opponent, there's more bad things close by in the Robot Wars arena than even in the battle box with their hazards.
Yeah. I know a lot of people who are using NPC motors, and so far a lot of them can agree they're definitely the most reliable motors, I think. Yeah. So, yeah, that pretty much covers Cathod. I guess we'll move on to the rest of your teammates, and we'll start with Canada.
Oh, Canada.
Yep.
Canada.
It is, of course, Terra Turtle, who's been with us since Extreme and unfortunately hasn't had much luck.
It's had as much success as the Cleveland Browns.
That's being a little too harsh. But,
I mean no ill will to John Frizzell, because he's such a nice guy, and everything I've heard about him backstage says that he's just one of the absolute best people in the pits.
Oh, he is. He loaned me a soldering iron when I was rewiring the electronics on Cathod. He's a very nice guy, and he has a mission to make his robots out of recycled stuff.
Mm.
And the problem with that is that you're never going to get the new motor or the new weapon because those aren't in the recycling bins yet.
Hmm.
So it's a disadvantage.
One thing that I did notice is that Terra Turtle has one of the used a spinner from the kegs.
Yes.
Yeah, I noticed a little bit. Like, usually they have like a circular saw, and then you look and you can definitely see it's like one of the lawnmower blades off the kegs. Which, since Carl and Tim from the Concussion team absolutely eradicated the kegs, they had to use, I guess, recycle those parts. And I guess they had some parts that actually worked, since they were able to salvage the motor and the weapon to put it in Terra Turtle. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he got it to drive around, and when it got damaged in the first fight, he got it to drive again. So it moved. There are people who've brought robots to events that never moved at all. So,
Yeah.
Well,
he was definitely the most green robot of any on our team.
Green with envy. And I believe I think I've taken a good look at the robot from 2003, and looking at it now, it's been around 14 years now. It's pretty much still the same.
I think
fiberglass lid and the little head on the front.
I think it is the same thing.
Yeah. Little fun fact: the first episode of the UK series I ever watched was the first episode of the New Blood tournament, and Terra Turtle was the first robot that came out, and I absolutely fell in love with it, just because it was such a wacky design.
This is my first time hearing this, but yeah, Terra Turtle, John Frizzell, he and his robots are one of the reasons we love Robot Wars.
Yeah. But it's a shame to see Terra Turtle retire and go back to the swamp, but this means John Frizzell can work on some new machines, and it is 2017, and there is plenty of room to upgrade and improve. Trevor Wright showed that with Velociraptor moving on to Ironside, so who knows? Maybe we'll see John Frizzell with the next Toro Maximus.
Oh, that'll be the day.
Hey, you never know.
Mm-hmm.
You can't underestimate robot builders. You can't underestimate Fuzzy.
Well, who predicted Nuts to go as far as it did?
Exactly. Like you look at it in Series A, just flailing around. Then once they put the Melty Brain in, it's just frightening.
Mm-hmm.
It is great.
I would not want to be in... Even if I was a flipper, I would not want to be in that thing. I would love to see Nuts 2 fight Eruption. Even Michael Oates would be confused as to how to take this thing out, because I can't I have to be careful when firing my flipper, because it could take out the pneumatic piston.
Yeah. It's great. So that covers Terra Turtle, representing Canada. So we'll move on to the first ever Russian entrant in Robot Wars.
And what an entry it is. I was actually quite impressed with this.
I like to call it Russian Beast. It's Weber.
Weber, yes.
I've seen some of the Russian robots in action, and it looks like there are quite a few of the teams who are big fans of Beast, because a lot of them have the pneumatic flipper and the skeleton-looking armor design. It's like,
I like the aesthetic of skeleton armor.
Yeah, it may not have like really strong armor, but it's able to save a lot more weight and space, so you can get some more energy into the flipper.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what you haven't mentioned is that Weber for this was also a loaner bot.
What?
Oh boy! Wow.
It looked like a new machine entirely.
Did you hear me say at the beginning they gave me a choice to fight a spinner or a flipper?
When I heard flipper, I thought of Savage.
Robo
Savage.
Alan Gubiev and his team at Weber Robots got the flipper. So what they did was they brought the upper skeleton from their robot, because that they could fit in their luggage.
Wow.
And they attached it to the flipper. Now, this is what I was told. I was too busy with my own robot to verify it, But I do know that they wound up with Carefree tires also, and you can see that when they were finally disabled in their match, it's because I think it was Killalot got a hold of their it was speared one of their tires and took it off.
Wait. Killalot's lance actually did something
Not
in
the
this
lance, the
series.
claw.
Well, he said
It was-
spear.
No, you're right. It was the claw, but he grabbed the tire and the tire just came off, and then Weber was counted out because it only had one drive side.
Ah, man.
So-
Killalot
so-
and his foot fetish
so that-
strike
no,
again.
Again, that was a very good bot, driven well, and I think that you get within the margin of error where it can be driving ability and the house robot's crankiness that decides who wins.
Yeah, I know a few people aren't really big fans of the house robots. I'm not naming names, but I know a couple were like, oh, you need the house bots to decide the matches rather than fight themselves. That just doesn't seem fair. But it's like,
It's not as bad as it is in the old series, especially Series 2.
yeah, but you know. But Weber, even though it didn't win both matches, I was still impressed with it. It put up a good fight against Concussion up until its skirmish with the house bots.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I believe that they're still. I think they're still having more Russian events.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Apparently, I don't know what algorithms they use in Russia, but apparently, like, the Russian roaming robots videos get, like, 1 million views or something ridiculous.
sure. Yeah, and speaking of international events, they're showing the Clash of the Bots from China. I believe they're uploading to YouTube right now. So
I hope they give us,
They were the very first fight on the very first episode of King of Bots.
wow,
mm-hmm.
Go
Nice.
up against Megabyte.
Oh dear.
Ooh, boy. Goodbye, Russia. Nice knowing ya.
No spoilers, but I have a good feeling.
I haven't said anything, and I won't spoil it for you.
At least
I
we're getting...
I uploaded my own video of Polar Vortex versus Megabyte from Robo Games just now. So
Oh, nice.
I am looking forward to seeing Peerless Zhug or Zhuge or however you say that in action.
Yeah, I don't know any of the names of the bots, but I do have my predictions. I put my picks are Megabyte, Flippa, Red Drum Spinner, Blue Dragon looking thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
I put all my money on Blue Dragon thing to win because then I can buy another Robot Club if he wins.
yeah, absolutely. We need another robot club and grill. Make it happen.
Anyway, let's move on to our final contestant, the one everybody was looking forward to, The Bash.
And it lasted a grand total of 5 seconds. Yeah, you know what? I am happy that they were able to bring up Bash and show that his memory is not forgotten. They showed clips from Series 3 and 4 of him setting stuff on fire, and it was a decent little tribute. It just didn't perform well in the arena.
When Eruption just flung it up into the air and it came crashing down.
I haven't seen Bash get that much air since the Flipper Frenzy.
Yeah. Well, let's just say Bash had a tough draw.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, Michael is a good driver and the reigning champion, so it's always a challenge when you're fighting someone who just won the whole thing.
Hmm.
So yes, I don't think they showed us what Bash could really do, but it was nice to see Tough as Nails again.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I think, is there anything to say about Bash? The flamethrower at the top, was that supposed to be like a self-righting mechanism?
I think it was purely decorative,
Yeah.
and because of the safety rules, they weren't allowed to bring their own flamethrower. They only trusted the house robots with fire, not the competitors.
Mm.
So the best they could do is say, we'll bring a gripping robot and we'll put this turret on top so people will think it looks like Sergeant Bash.
And apparently Dead Metal didn't fall for it since he just sawed right into its back in the middle of the match. He's like,
Oh, yeah.
hashtag not my bash.
Yeah, well, I did hear the announcer saying the house robots were not happy at the idea of an homage. So, but I didn't get to talk with them afterwards and find out whether they were really upset about it or not.
Yeah.
Because afterwards they take their batteries out and they don't talk.
So, Killalot, what do you think of Bash? He still owes me for playing with my My Little Pony.
Nah.
Yeah. So yeah, that pretty much covers the international bots, so I guess we can talk about the matches. Starting with Eruption and Big Nipper versus the Bash and Weber. Started out with Eruption and Weber, and it was a nice little flipper versus flipper match.
I know that, I had no idea that Weber was a loner bot because it looked just like its Russian counterpart, but it got a good flip or two on Eruption, so, hey, anyone who gives Michael Oates a run for his money is okay in my book.
And I'm not, let's put it this way, I'm not, this is what I was told, but I didn't watch them bring it in, so I'm reporting secondhand information there. You could always try to get a hold of Alan Gubiev and see what he says about it.
Yeah, and you also have to give props to Michael Oates for being able to get Eruption together after its fight with Carbide.
Apparently, he did. I'm guessing he had no sleep that night.
Yeah, 2 days he said he was working on that thing to get it back together.
Did you, out of curiosity, Fuzzy, did you see Eruption's fight with Carbide, or at least see the state Eruption was in after the final?
I didn't get to watch the fight live because I was working. I did see it afterwards, and it was. Let's put it this way: that's what you do in the pits. Is you take the pile that was your robot and you make it your robot again. So Michael was as good at doing that as anybody.
Yeah, he's hands down one of the best robot builders, drivers, roboteers, whatever other synonym you want to come up with it. He's definitely come a long way since his early days with featherweights like Explosion and Annihilation, and I believe he's won virtually every event in the UK. So that really shows you just how great he is.
More hardware for his cabinet, as I say.
Yeah,
yes.
He's gonna need a new cabinet now.
and that is a style of robot that is dominant in the Robot Wars arena, because there's a low wall that you can throw your opponent over, and he's not coming back. If you are in, say, the Robo Games arena and you throw your opponent up against the window, he'll just land right back in front of you, and if he's tough enough, he'll keep fighting you. So the arena there does favor the pneumatic flipper. So that's a tough robot to figure out how to fight, except with another pneumatic flipper.
Yeah. So I guess Weber decides to tag in Bash, see how Bash does against the mighty Eruption, and
Bash gets sent flying
right into the sky, and then ironically right onto the flames. Hey, at least it's got flames somehow.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, you got to find the ignition source where you can.
And then Weber gets flipped, and then after that, both Eruption and Big Nipper are like, "All right, to heck with you guys. Let's attack Dead Metal. He's already been flipped onto his face by Apollo in the previous episode. Let's do it ourselves."
Well, Eruption tried to be Apollo, but he just couldn't get Dead Metal over.
And Michael Oates, he's been known to have a little go at the house bots, because I watched the Extreme Robots fights, and he always loves to try and pick on Major Damage, and that's a 2,000-pound robot he's lifting up. It's insanely powerful.
I'm just gonna say this right now, though: a Major Damage is not as tall as the crowd shots make him out to be.
He does a good job being completely wide and covering up the camera so that you can't really see behind him. But yeah, this match. It was a match.
It was a match.
Yeah, so now we come on to the match that everyone's talking about. Concussion and Thor versus Cathod and Terror Turtle.
Yes.
Concussion and Thor. After the Calamity crazy rivalry that happened in Series 9, and then Thor getting his revenge on Series 10, I guess Tim and Jason decided, all right, let's become a tag team now.
Well, Tim does partner up with Jason on the live circuit.
Oh, that's true. Of course, this probably means if they do have a Series 11, they're going to be rivals again. But yeah, so basically it's Thor and Cathod start out, and then...
No.
Or no, was it?
Turtle started out against Concussion.
Oh, yeah. My notes are terrible. That's it. Yeah, Terror Turtle started out against Concussion, and then...
As captain of the team, I told everyone that our goal was, we brought robots from all over the world. Everyone gets a chance to drive. So, we'll put in Terror Turtle first, and then I'll tag out after about 30 seconds, right? Or I'll tag in and you tag out. He didn't make it to 30 seconds, so the plan didn't go as well. But we put him in first because, that way we made sure he got a chance to show it off.
And just
down it work.
And unfortunately, it's a turtle. So once it gets turned turtle, that was it for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then
it can't.
That's the first clue. Okay, I mean, the most important rule in fighting robots is work upside down or have a reliable way to get back right side up. And if you don't have that, you're pretty much wasting everybody's time.
Do you know what caused Terror Turtle to stop moving? Was it just couldn't get traction, or did something pop out?
It was just not invertible.
Because I've seen it run upside down a few times in Series 7 and Series 8, but I guess it just didn't want to do it this time. Maybe it was just something wrong with the casters, or
it just didn't work. I don't know why. And see, this is the bad thing. Even though I was captain of the team, I had my own robot to take care of. So, and I was in worse shape than Terror Turtle when we got back from that fight. So I didn't have a chance to debrief with him.
And then, so it's Thor, and now Thor and Cathod come out. My notes.
Yes. Actually, I asked Jason where he wanted to hit me, and he pointed to a spot on his robot up by the base of the hammer.
Yeah. So
I said, hey, I'm driving the most powerful horizontal spinner I've ever driven. It's not my robot. I can drive it like it's a rental. So I figured, fine, I will hit you there. And I did. And what I did not expect was that the entanglement device would actually engage on the blade, because I had the blade running with the point trailing. So it basically just hit with a flat blade. But it managed to drag that shackle right through and disable my weapon.
Jason, you magnificent bastard, I read your book!
And then Concussion decides to be cheeky, comes right out and whacks you with the drum. That was basically
and Carl
it.
told me yesterday that Jason put him up to it.
Jason, are we going to see you turn heel if there's a Series 11?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was as surprised as anyone. I heard Carl called me last week and said, I'm going to be in Austin. Can I stop by the ranch? So he was actually in my living room for the airing of this episode. Dang. So, I said, did the producers put you up to that? No. It was Jason. Yeah. So he threw Jason under the bus. Let's just make that official.
I thought it would be Tim who put it up to it, because that's how Tim rolls.
Yeah.
Well, at the event, Tim came up to me and said, hey, I'm sorry, it's Carl. I didn't know he was going to do that. So that doesn't mean he was telling me the truth, but he was he looked very believable with those big puppy dog eyes. I totally don't think it was Tim, unless it was. There's a lot of people getting thrown under the bus today, so.
Yeah, well.
He threw me under the bus.
There you go.
So
anyway, but yeah, so the what you can't say, Concussion had a very good hit on Cathod. Double teaming though it may be, it is certainly the case that this would not have been the first time in a British tag team match that there was some double teaming going on.
No.
if the
But
extreme.
I do think this is probably the most effective cheap shot ever in the history of the series.
Yeah. Like, if you look back at all the other tag team matches in both the US and the UK series, 95% of them usually have robots, all four robots just out there double teaming each other. And I look at all these matches and I'm like, look at all this rule breaking! Look at it! And then this is the first time somebody actually addressed this rule breaking and finally decided, okay, this is not fair.
We're totally not giving away a free victory to Team Rest of the World.
Yeah, well.
Well, they didn't count on Angela. She was very much on my side.
Oh, good Angela.
Angela Scanlon, the MVP of the rebooted series.
Yep.
Well, I love the way she says fuzzy.
Hey, she's Irish.
Fuzzy.
That's lyrical when she says my nickname. But the challenge is with this, okay? The idea with a horizontal spinner, with a tomb clone, as it were, is the front end is the defended end. That's where all the shields are, and the back end is weak. So you're supposed to only fight one opponent. You keep the spinny thing in front of you, and it keeps you from getting hurt. And even if the spinny thing isn't working, there's just a whole lot of metal and space up there. So hitting the front of your spinny thing keeps the guts protected. So when I'm facing Thor, coming up from behind and hitting me with a very powerful weapon has a lot more effect than it would normally have. And in this case, what it did, it destroyed one of the T64 motors, the drive motors, and it also broke the E-Tech mount inside of Cathod. But that's not the worst part. The worst part was it shifted some of the wiring in the commutator, and as a result, the E-Tech developed a dead spot. And that's the most embarrassing failure you could have with an E-Tech, because what happens is when you have the motor under load, with no load in the pits, and you're just running the motor runs fine. Then you put the blade on and you put it in the arena and you apply voltage, and the motor says, no, I refuse to work. So that, it was a cheap shot. Oh, well, if I'd had a spare E-Tech, or if I'd even known that the motor had been so damaged, it would have just been one fight. Okay.
Yeah.
But the thing that bothered me about it was that when I lined up against Michael Oates, and we're talking the final fight now. Should I wait?
Yeah, we can wait. We'll just continue with the rest of the matches. So
say that foreshadow that that this cheap shot affected two fights, not one.
Yeah, so basically Cathod was a bit of a mess, so
Yeah, well, it was horrible. So I spent a whole day putting it back together. And I had help from the Coopers, the Robo Challenge people who built it originally. But I got the electronics back. I put in a new weapon motor. And we also, I can talk more about the other. We did make one change for the second fight because of our opponent. We'll talk that when we get to the fight.
Okay. So yeah, Concussion and Thor, they got the knockout, but they decided to concede the victory to you guys just to be fair, because I know there was controversial towards the end there, but hey, yeah, you ended up with, it was a 3-on-3, so
I ended up with 3 points, and I will just say they were far enough ahead that it was easy to concede me those points.
Yeah,
but yeah, so let's just hope that I can bring a little bit of sportsmanship to the UK.
But yeah, we'll move on to the single matches, and before that we got a little flashback to the Robot Club and Grill. That was pretty cool. And then so the next fight was supposed to be Thor versus Bash, but Bash was too broken, so it's time to bring back the big gun, the giant hug box known as Tough as Nails.
I actually marked out when Tough as Nails was revealed, because I had no idea. I I legitimately did not see this coming.
I kind of had a feeling, because obviously the team wouldn't just come all the way from Holland with just Bash. I had a feeling they must have an extra bot in there somewhere.
And they did with Jaren Lieverloo. I finally got the pronunciation right.
Loan van der Loo.
It's Euron.
Jaren Lieverloo.
Euron Lieverloo.
Awesome. Congratulations. You learned something new. So, Thor versus Tough as Nails. Jason, right at the start of the match, decides to take a page out of Al Kindle's book and lights his hammer on fire.
Somebody posted an image of this to describe this in the Shunt posting group as they showed Mick Foley versus Terry Funk at One Night Stand, where Terry Funk had that 2x4 that was on fire.
Yeah. And Tough as Nails, I've seen before. It is a good machine, but it looked like it was having a lot of traction issues on that floor.
Yeah, I don't... What are those... That's not rubber on those wheels, is it?
I can't address that. That was, again, I was busy repairing Cathod when they brought it out.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but...
I don't know what Euron had for wheels on that robot.
Well, even in Series 7, if you watch its fight against Storm Tour Bulldog Breed, it had traction issues then.
But that was usually with a wooden floor, and I don't think it was all that bad. But on this big metal floor, you can it's just sliding all over the place on an ice rink, and metal is a lot more. It's smoother, a lot slicker. Like, I fought on a metal floor before, and you're just sliding all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So, and speaking of slippery, I think Thor was just... Tough as Nails just couldn't get a hold of Thor. It was just so low. Just...
It's this big, chunky robot.
It's like trying to grab a bar of soap.
Well, he grabbed it several times, but because the thing is just a pyramid shape, the jaws just gravitate up and wrap around the hammer. And since they don't close like scissors, he couldn't, cut the hammer off.
Yeah.
It got around the hammer several times, but all it did was just bend it. Didn't really do any cause any major damage to it.
Exactly.
But even with that said, I actually consider this the best fight of this episode.
Without question, mostly because there was no real bullshit.
No. And it actually went the distance. So. And it's good to see Thor actually doing well. Like, Jason's a great roboteer, but he always has, like, some of the worst luck. Whether he's driving into pits, or holes in the floor, or into Matilda's ass. So. But yeah, so...
Also, Thor finally seems to have sorted out its gas problem.
Yeah, well, it took him 2 days to fix it up. But, yeah, that covers this match. It went to a judge's decision. Thor got the victory and the 2 points. And now, we move on to the derpest of derp fights in this derpy episode. Terra Turtle versus Big Nipper.
Awesome that I got this one. So, Big Nipper wrapped its claws around the giant turtle like an eagle grabbing its prey, and it pushed it right into the CPZ with Matilda. Matilda hit Big Nipper with its flywheel, and I think Matilda hit one of its lipos or its batteries.
It was a lipo, definitely.
Big Nipper just went up in flames.
It pulled a Rapid.
This wasn't as amazing as Rapid.
Actually, I think it was more because immediately Big Nipper went up in flames. It actually took a while for Rapid to...
I don't know. I just like the spontaneous combustion. That was a lot more satisfying.
And I'm disappointed because when I saw Big Nipper go up, I thought Terra Turtle was going to win this match. And then...
All he had to do was move. If he'd just been able to move, they would have given it to Terra Turtle.
But Matilda, who decided to be a bitch this entire episode, goes ahead and flips Terra Turtle over, and that was pretty much it. This was less of a fight and more just Matilda on PMS. Yeah, it's
that to Matilda's face. I'm just letting you know, really.
Jonathan Pierce is gonna kill us for that remark.
Yeah. But, yeah, Terra Turtle. That was pretty much the end of it now.
Well, the trick is this. This is where Nipper made a mistake, and he didn't pay for it except in the shop later. If you're gonna feed your opponent to the house robot, you want to stay outside of the corner while you're doing it. If you grab your opponent and drive into the corner, you're both fair game.
Yeah. But, Big Nipper, these horizontal crushers, usually there is a bit of a struggle when you're grabbing onto an opponent, because Big Nipper has a complicated design where it's both a lifter and a crusher, but it's all on one stick.
Yeah,
you grab onto it with the side sticks, and then up with the other one. So basically, it's a complicated design, and it just ended up getting caught in the crossfire, unfortunately.
Well, but that's it. But you see, this is the thing. My years of experience driving in the battle box were very, very handy driving in the Robot Wars arena, because what you have to always keep in mind in Robot Wars, okay, the house robots are the thing I'm scared of. The pit is the next most important thing I'm scared of. Then maybe the flipper thing, and then my opponent. So you must never concentrate on your opponent and forget about the more dangerous house robots. And if you don't steer as wide of them as possible, you're going to have a short fight, and it's going to look like it was decided by the house robots. And to me, that's the same thing we say in robo games. You never want to fight to go to the judges. So if the house robots are deciding a fight, you have already made a tactical mistake.
But you know what? That's really when strategy comes into play. You want to use the house robots as a weapon, even if it isn't your own weapon. So, but yeah, this.
But if it goes badly, it's your fault for getting too close.
Exactly. That pretty much covers the fight. John Frizzell decides to retire Terra Turtle. Hopefully get a bigger, better machine.
Mm-hmm.
Terror. What's a good sequel?
I don't know. Terror Tortoise, because tortoises are bigger than turtles, but tortoises are also...
Terror Turtle 2, Secret of the Ooze?
I guess.
Angry Alligator.
There we go. Angry Alligator. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Terrorgator. That's it. Terrorgator.
Okay. That'll work. And if it doesn't work, you can always write a script for the Sci-Fi Channel. Put it on after Sharknado and Lavalantula.
Oh.
Gator Twister? I don't know.
Hey, if he's struggling with the names, just ask Dave Laurie. He can come up with any name for your robot.
Two-headed Death Flamingo. That's a really good one.
That's not even his best name he's given for a robot, but we're getting off topic here.
I think he's built like 200 different UK ant weights, and they all have the craziest names.
Yeah, we'll have to send you his builder's database page afterward, but... Anyway, let's move on to Concussion versus Weber. I think Weber was on top here for a bit.
I agree. I thought that Alan was doing great.
And then, unfortunately, he activates the button. We got Rogue House Robot, which I think was really overused in this episode.
Yeah.
I thought that there'd be more pits going down.
Or more Fog of War. You know, can I just say this? The one time the Fog of War got used in the Thor versus Tough as Nails battle, it looked as if the Fog of War had enough. There was barely enough gas in there just to fill the arena.
Yeah,
like they fired.
It did a good job putting out Thor's axe, though.
The Fog of War, they hit the Fog of War button and the Fog of War just went.
Well, I've got to say that I had seen Robot Wars before, but some of the innovations they brought in, I don't really care for the Fog of War or the Rogue robots. If I hit the pit button, I want to open up the pit so I can put my opponent in the pit.
Exactly.
Nobody likes the Fog of War.
No.
And the thing is, it's totally random. You hit the button, and someone somewhere decides what you get. And I don't know whether it's a human being or a circuit. But I never got what I wanted. I never got the pit open when I wanted the pit open.
Yeah.
So I don't like the rogue robots.
I think if they do have a Series 11, they should have 2 buttons, just like they did for the Disc of Doom in Series 6 and 6.
Yeah.
Just have one button over there for Rogue House Robot. You can press it once, you get Rogue House Robot. Press the pit button on the other side, you get the pit.
Yeah.
Seems simple enough. Instead of this Dial of Doom bullshit.
Yeah.
I'd vote for that, but I'm not a UK citizen, so I don't get to vote over there.
All right.
You can probably vote, maybe if they have a poll on their Robot Wars Twitter or something. Do you want the Fog of War?
Yeah. No. They, as I said, the Robot Wars Twitter straight up said if they do another series, they're scrapping the Fog of War.
Yeah. So
even they admitted that it was a stupid idea.
Well, the worst part is the cameras can't see what's going on,
No.
and that's kind of the whole point of us being there.
Yeah. Yeah. Alex the Hunted, one of our guests, Alex Hall, said it best. If the Roboteers can't see, then the audience can't see.
Exactly. It's not good television, and there was way too much of it, especially in Heat C. But yeah, basically, this was shaping up to be a good fight. Concussion got 1 hit in. Weber was stuck upside down for a bit. But finally, they got back over.
And Dead Metal sawed into Concussion's drum.
Yeah, that can't be good for the drum. And then Weber decides to go for the pit button, gets Rogue House Robot. Dead Metal comes out and attacks, and then Weber is like, I guess, decides to go ahead and take on Dead Metal, but then Kilowog comes in and just knocks the wheel off. Just
Yeah, and
derp.
that was the Carefree Tire thing, and that's, they have good and bad, and we'll talk about that for the next fight, but that was not a good use of it.
No. It's a shame, because I think Weber could have won.
Yeah, I think Weber could have won that one too.
He had a chance. He was in it till he wasn't.
That's the fight in one sense. He was in it, and then he wasn't.
Yeah, and since the UK had pretty much gotten the most points, they had already won, but they still were able to give us the final match between the two captains, Cathod and Eruption, and I was actually looking forward to this match.
I was hoping that we get Eruption versus Carbide 3 or something.
Carbide 3 because 2.0 is Cobalt, I think.
Well, in terms of fight, I meant like we'd get a repeat of the grand final, but it was just another squash.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Well, so now I can talk about why, right?
Yep, go on ahead.
Okay, well, first of all, let me talk about what we did before the fight. Okay, the thing we were most afraid of, we'd already lost one drive motor by being hit by concussion. Well, what we figured would happen with Eruption is that we go flying a lot, landing on our tires. And the problem with having really hard rubber tires is if you land on them, you break the motor, the NPC motor. So we did switch over to Carefreeze for the fight versus Eruption. And we did it on purpose because that way, if we landed on them, they're more cushiony. They would protect the motor. That was the theory. So in addition to, repairing the belts, getting everything back into working, checking the weapon motor, and we worked with no load, replaced the drive motor, and we put on softer tires. So we were all ready to go. And I did one thing that had Michael Oates scratching his head. I'd figured out by then from testing and in the first fight, whenever you turn on the weapon, Cathod does a 90-degree turn. Because that's just the way the angular momentum works. The force of the blade flips the robot 90 degrees the other direction. So I lined up 90 degrees off of him. And actually, I got him completely baffled. He said later, he said, I didn't know what was going on. I thought it was a trick. Then the fight starts. I hit the button, and I don't have a weapon. I know immediately, oh, shoot, I've got a dead spot in the E-Tech. My only hope is to bang into the wall enough to get the weapon spinning. But I didn't really get a chance to do that for a long time. But Michael took a long time to attack me because he figured it was a trick. He thought what I was going to do is wait till he got on me and then I turn on the weapon. So I made him worry for a split second. That's about the best thing I can say about the fight.
And then it started to work.
Oh, actually, I was about 2 minutes in, a little after 2 minutes. So okay, all right, I've got no weapon. Well, I'm never going to just give up. So what I did, I ran over, I hit the pit button, right? And we get Fog of War.
Oh, lovely.
Wonderful. Well, okay, at least you can't see me. So I drive around for a while, careful to stay away from the corners with the other robots and careful to stay off the flipper. The pit's okay at this point because they haven't got it open. So that goes. We fight. Now I managed to run away from him for a long time. I don't think I ever was really offensive because I didn't have a weapon, and I knew if he got he flipped me a couple times. So if I got on top of him, because the weapon was so long, he couldn't throw the whole robot. It would throw the nose up, and I would flip over on my back. But then what you see about 2 minutes in, he flips me, and the weapon starts spinning. And I'm thinking, oh, great. This is going to be one of those great comebacks in TV history. Now I have a spinning weapon. But the problem is, because I'd been taking damage for 2 minutes, the bearings were damaged. So now that I'm spinning, I'm throwing ball bearings out, even though there's there's a no projectile rule. But bearings aren't a very effective weapon.
I think the producers will let that slide since it was unintentional.
Yeah, well, it was unintentional. So anyway, for 12 seconds or so, I have a weapon, and I got in a hit or two, but the motor was still damaged. It wasn't working at full speed. I didn't have a chance to line up a really good hit. And it's not like Eruption isn't made of metal. It's actually a tough target. So I didn't have the energy to take him apart. And then when I came back down, one of the tires comes off. And so, we changed. So you have this dilemma. You put on the hard tires, you break the motor. You put on the soft tires, you break the tire. Either way, you're immobilized.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah.
Well, this is why I haven't used NPC motors as drive motors in a heavyweight since 2011. So I don't do that anymore. So I'm kind of going back in my history, like, I know this is a risk, but Ray makes it work because he modifies the heck out of his NPC motors to make them tougher. Plus, you can't really get a good hit in on him because you got to go past that big spinning blade. In this case, I didn't have any of Ray's advantages, and so I really feel bad that the last fight was not the Spinner versus Flipper epic that I'd hoped for and that I think the audience had hoped for. So
yeah.
The most I can say is if they haven't, the next series of Robot Wars, I'm going to bring back my own Spinner that I believe is tougher than Cathod, and I hope to put on a better show then.
Well, hopefully Mentorn will pay for the shipping and handling.
Yeah.
Well, we have a plan. The challenge is that shipping is very sensitive to timing. And they work on a short enough schedule that by the time they want you to bring your robot, you don't have time to ship it cheaply. The plan is to devise a form of my robot that fits into suitcases. This is commonly used. The Toro and the Brazilian teams do this a lot. They have a team, and it's like, okay, all your clothes go in your carry-on along with these batteries, because batteries have to go in carry-ons, and all of your suitcases are going to be full of robot parts. And that's why they have so many people on the team. They need their suitcases. So that's what I'm trying to redesign to make that possible.
Oh, and can we mention the best part about this fight?
Oh no, I know what you're thinking.
Shunt's axe broke.
Again.
That was always good, yeah.
Yeah, like he lost the tip in the last heat, and here he just completely broke it when he hit Eruption.
I've got you now. Crack. Oops.
Bad times for Shunt. He lost his eyes in the last episode, and now he loses his whole axe.
Wait, he lost his eyes?
Yeah, those little spike things he's got right where the GoPro is.
Oh, yeah.
Gabriel smacked him in the face, and they just popped off. Oh, it's always a lot of fun when the house bots get abused. But, yeah, it was a shame. I think... I know with circumstances, a lot of teams couldn't make it, either due to costs or just having trouble, like reliability issues with the robots. And I think if they do have another international event, that they should bring some more bots from other countries. Like, I'd like to see the guys from Brazil.
I'd love to see some of the bots from China. From,
absolutely.
From Russia.
We're gonna right after this. We're gonna watch Clash of Bots and see how they look. So yeah, robot fighting, I think, has definitely come a long way. I mean, you'll look back in the early days of Robot Wars in San Francisco, just a lot of wedges, lots of boxes, a couple saw blades here, and now...
And then, or on occasion, you have a robot that was basically a remote-controlled toy bicycle.
Or a remote-controlled toy biohazard like I drove for a decade. But, yeah, you got...
It's harder to bring a garage bot and do anything with it.
Yeah, but...
Well...
Now you've got all these sponsors.
Not in the smaller weight classes, it isn't. You know, just look at Mike. I don't know what his last name is, but the guy who made the pizza box.
Oh, yes. I don't know if you've seen... we had a match at Pennsylvania Bot Blast where a robot with... it was basically a pizza box on wheels managed to win a match just by ramming into its opponent. It's really funny.
El Burro has one win. So, you know, I'm not new to this idea. If you can get your bot in the arena and you can move, sometimes you will win.
Yeah.
There are people who fought Last Rites, where Last Rites comes out, the counter goes, and Last Rites has that same dead spot problem that I had with Cathod.
Mm-hmm.
We'll tap out, and the other guy gets a victory. That never happens to me. I always have to fight Ray, but you know, I've seen it happen to other people. So it can always be your day. But at the end of the thing, you're not going to win without a reasonably good robot, because that just takes, you have to have so many opponents, and you got to build tough.
And sometimes it's just not your day. Just ask the Abattoir guys.
Abattoir?
It's
Abattoir.
Abattoir, however you say it. It's, let me put it this way. Abattoir has never gone further than the length of the battle box.
What? Just...
It just, they move forward and then they just stop.
Yeah.
I have their old weapon blade in my museum in the shop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This one BattleBots website voted it the worst BattleBots competitor of all time.
That's being harsh.
Yeah.
Well, it's a shame. It's a shame that the international bots, a lot of them really weren't working up to their full potential, and it was basically, aside from the DQ finish, it was just a UK squash all around.
Yeah.
I think that really kind of hurt the quality of the episode for me, because with episode 1, I actually gave it an 8 because I really enjoyed it. There were some good matches, and there were some good international bots like Cobra and
Tomahawk.
And
hey, you know, even though it wasn't, you know, a new Dietor, we at least got Dietor in spirit.
Sure. And yeah, it's kind of a
Got
shame.
red spotted fur.
Yes, lots of fur, lots of Toad stickers. It was fun.
Yeah, Brandon, I think, Brandon, for Robo Games, you're gonna order like a whole roll of that fur just to give out to people.
I hope. I've been trying to go on Google and see if I can find some places to get Dietor fur, and I can't find any.
But overall, I think we should give our final thoughts on the episode. You gave yours. Score-wise, I'd probably give this episode a 4 out of 10.
I'd give it a 3.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but...
So we got 7 then. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, 7 out of...
7 out of 20.
Oh, well, all right.
What score would you give it, Fuzzy?
Well, let's just put it this way. Okay, I was terribly disappointed with my performance, and anybody's robot can break at any time, but in this case, you know, one cheap shot eliminated any chance to win the first fight and destroyed my chance in the second fight. So I'm not feeling like I got a really a good chance to show off what I can do this time. So
yeah,
you know, I had fun building.
Yeah, fun building, fun fighting at Robot Wars. That's what it's all about, right?
Well, I'm glad. You know, let's put it this way: I'm hoping to go back with my own robot and having been there and seen the arena and seen the dynamics, that was very useful. I've already incorporated anti-entanglement devices into my spinner, because you never want to lose the same way twice.
No.
So I've made changes in my robot because of this event. So you learn more from your losses, and so what I guess I have to say is I learned a lot.
Yeah. So I think I think that pretty much covers the episode basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for now, this is the last episode of the show.
For at least covering the new series of Robot Wars. We have plans for the future. We might interview some Roboteers. We're definitely going to be covering Extreme Warriors for this show, and we may even do King of Bots. We might even do some non-Robot Wars related content.
You mean like Robot Combat League?
No.
You're
on your own for that one if you do it.
Well, we can cover stuff, wrestling and whatnot. So
we can review movies.
Yeah, what kind of movies you got in mind?
Well, there's this one movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme called Sudden Death.
Oh, yeah. That should be fun. Any good movies you've seen lately, Fuzzy?
Well, my favorite movie of the last decade is Iborgs.
Iborgs.
I
don't think I've seen it.
Well, it's got robots in it. Cute little walkers with big eyes. They're surveillance robots. You definitely should check it out. It's from 2009.
Iborgs, is that like a EYE Borgs?
EYEBORGS.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
We'll have to have you on for that episode then if we review it.
Yep. That pretty
Only
much.
if you like it. I'm tired of being interviewed about stuff you don't like.
No, don't worry.
It's fine. It's all in good spirit. We may sound like a bunch of jerks, but really, it's all for fun.
Yep.
Like, who are these Americans? I hate these guys.
Yeah.
I want Jim Giamatti.
Well, as I said, as I've said, when it comes to this podcast, Brandon and I, we have kind of a face and heel dynamic. We're like wrestling commentators. He's Gorilla Monsoon, and I'm Bobby the Brain Heenan, and he's the only one who gets that reference.
Yeah, well. But that pretty much covers it. And in 2018, I will say it's going to be a bit busy year for everybody. I got Mass Destruction up in Massachusetts this Saturday.
It's my birthday this Saturday, actually.
Nice. And it's my birthday on Friday. So that's
Oh.
my little birthday present going up there. And, of course, I got Robo Games in April.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be heading there. Fuzzy, you're going too?
Oh, yeah. Polar Vortex is going to be there.
Oh, so that should be fun. Get all those Team Toad stickers ready.
I got to print some more. We're out of the Jeep stickers entirely.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Don't worry. I still got mine on Mondo Bizarro, so we look forward to seeing what the new design looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, for now, this is the last Robot Wars episode, at least until they renew a new season. So, Fuzzy, it was good having you on the show.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And,
We hope to have you on again sometime.
yep. Maybe if they finally give us a third season of BattleBots.
We can
Call me up
dream.
if I win something.
Yeah. And I guess, yeah, that's pretty much it. And as always, I am the Hardcore Kid.
And I'm Otaku Nate.
And this was Mike, a.k.a. Fuzzy.
Adios.
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 Until next time. Cease.
Somebody touch my spaghetti!